So today's lesson is going to be about what we like expressed in a collage. And my focus student's name is Brian, and he has been diagnosed with Tourette's. His tics consist of wrist bending and head jerking and a high pitch squeal. These tics, they wax and wane, which means they increase and decrease, and they seem to increase when he is stressed. So making modifications based on his stress level is very important. And he finds it very painful to use fine motor skills such as writing and gluing, so it is important to keep that in mind when I'm doing my lesson. So prior to my lesson, the day before I do this with my students, I will actually inform Brian ahead of time what it is that we will be doing so that he is fully aware of the activity that is going to be taking place. I will give him a magazine, and he will be able to point out the items that he likes, and he will then work with AC, or a special education teacher, with cutting them out. For working with scissors is very hard for him, and whatever he doesn't finish cutting out, I will go ahead and cut out for him so that his items will already be cut out in advance before we do this lesson the next day. So the next day, when we are doing the lesson, I will introduce the lesson by first showing the students things that I like. I will be like, I like ice cream, I like taking pictures, I like camera, and I like reading. I enjoy books. Then I would ask the students, there are many things that I like. How can I take the things that I like and put them on a paper to show people all the different things that I like? And then they may say things like, oh, you can paint pictures. I would write down painting and then maybe draw a little picture of paintbrush. Say, oh, you can draw pictures of crayons. I would then write that down, and then a little picture to like show what that looks like. And I'd write down all of their ideas. Then they might even say a collage, which would be great. And I'd be like, yes, in fact, that is what we are learning about. We are going to go through a magazine and find things that we like and circle them and cut them out. We are going to find 5 things that we like today. We are going to find 5 things that we like today. How many things are we going to find? And have them repeat back to me 5 things. It's very important that I say the directions twice and have them repeat it back to me. For Brian is not a toy learner and will remember best orally the directions in which I give. I will have already pre-cut 5 items out that I like so that I can demonstrate what that looks like. And then I will glue them on the paper. And I'll probably say what it is like. Oh, I really like bubbles. I found those. I'll also explain to them that when making a collage, it is okay to overlap your pictures. And then once I have all 5 of my items on the paper, I will then say, after you have your 5 items that you've picked on your paper, you will then choose 3 items. You will choose 3 items. How many items are we choosing? 3. And we are going to write them on this paper using the words, our sight words, like and because. For example, I chose this piece of candy here. I can write, I like candy because I like Halloween. Now, I will have already worked with Brian beforehand. He will have already seen the pictures that I had chosen out, and I'll ask him, is there a picture here that you also like? And let's say he says, oh yeah, I like bubbles too. I'm like, oh, can you come up with a sentence with me that describes why you like bubbles? And he was like, I like bubbles because they pop. I'm like, that's great. I'm going to call on you tomorrow to give that sentence. So I'm telling him beforehand that I'm going to be calling on him so that his stress level will be down, so that his tics will not surface, hopefully. And so after I have this, I will then say I will then call on Brian, and he will either say the sentence that we came up with together, or he may completely create his own sentence. Now that he is more familiar with the activity and the things that we are doing, his stress level might be down, and he's got a great imagination, so he might come up with something completely different than what we discussed, which would be awesome. He does have a hard time with writing, so I would not call on him for the next part. I would then say to the class, is there someone here who can come and write down what Brian said? I like bubbles because they pop. And then I will call on somebody, and they will come down and they will write that. And this is really important because it will connect the students to something Brian has said, and also show Brian that his voice was heard when he sees them write it down. He has a hard time with social skills, and so being able to trust the people around him and his environment making him feel more comfortable will also reduce his tics. After we have gone over what the activity is going to be, I will then have them go to their desks and work it out and work on them. Brian, remember, already has his items cut out, so he will just be selecting out of his items the 5 that he wants to glue, because he has cut out more than 5, so he will then be choosing the 5 that he wants to glue, while the other students are cutting theirs out. There are some students that are skilled in the cutting and gluing, and they may finish this activity really fast. I will have them go over and work with Brian on gluing his pictures down to help him with his social skills. And there will also be either myself, assistant, or the special education teacher there as well to help him out with the gluing. After he is done with the gluing, he will then orally tell either me, the assistant, or the special education teacher what his sentences are going to be, and they will scribe for him, so that at least his ideas are down on paper. He will then be given a chance to go to the computer and be able to type them out, for writing is painful for him, and he's still working on that with the OT. Since the main point of this activity is just connecting yourself with items that you like and creating a collage and being able to write those down, using the computer would be perfectly acceptable for him. And my main goal would be for him to be able to complete at least one sentence, because I know even with his tics, even typing can become difficult, and he's still learning his typing skills, so being able to complete at least one sentence during this time will be great. But he will have his other sentences, because after we're done with our activity, I'm going to pair them up so that they can discuss their pictures and their sentences with a partner. I will partner them up grouped based on my outgoing kids and my more shy kids. I will pair them together like that so that there is a balance between the discussions that are being made. So even if Brian doesn't finish typing his sentences, he at least has his sentences out to be able to discuss with his partner the things that were being done. We will then get back together as a group, and the students that want to share with the whole group what they presented will have a chance to do that. It would be awesome if Brian felt so comfortable at that point that he wanted to share with the whole group too. After all of this is done, actually while this is all taking place, while the students are working, I myself and my assistant will be going around and guiding the students to making sure that, if they need help. But I will also have an assessment where I will be checking off that they're doing the different components that are there. And the last thing is the following day, as a review, and to see that they've completely accomplished this, I will ask them, what did we make yesterday? Hopefully they'll say collages. And then I will have a little book that I have made of all the different things. It says, who am I? And then I will show people the different students' collages, and let's read the sentences and see if they can guess which student created that. And I will evaluate who is participating in this group discussion. Another thing I didn't mention is when they go back to do the activity, for my auditory learners and for Brian especially, I will sing out the directions so that they will be able to understand them, and I will just say, There are 5 items and 3 sentences in my collage. There are 5 sentences. There are 5 items and 3 sentences in my collage. And I'll have him sing it back to me. There are 5 items and 3 sentences in my collage. And that will hopefully help everybody remember the directions. And so that is my lesson and my modifications that I have made for Brian in my classroom. Also, it is important to inform that Brian is able to leave the classroom at any time he wants to go to the library and release his ticks, or he can actually, he can go to our library area and release his ticks, or he can, if he really needs to, leave the classroom and go to the nurse's office and release his ticks there, and come back. That way, him just knowing that he has a chance to be able to release his ticks if he needs to provides him the comfort that he needs and reduces his stress a lot there. So I know within this whole activity that Brian may not be in the classroom the entire time, but I am making these modifications and these things to help reduce his stress and hopefully have his tics not surface while the activity is going on. But completely understanding if it doesn't go completely as planned. And Brian, of course, is allowed to continue this activity in the resource room. He can even bring the partner with him to the resource room and have the discussion there if he needs to, and he can even work on this at home if he wants to, because giving Tourette syndrome students a chance to have extra time with their work is very important.